What's up, fellas? We got to talk about the Chicago Bulls. If you're new here, my name's Tucker, and I know what you're thinking, Bulls fans. Why doesn't this guy ever say anything positive about our team? Why is it every single time he talks about the Bulls, it's about how they're a disaster, it's about how things are going poorly? Well, once you start doing something correctly, I got y'all. I promise you, the minute things start going correctly in Chicago, you'll be at the top of the list for a video. But unfortunately, today is not that day. The Bulls last night had one of the worst collapses that we've seen this season, or honestly, in a pretty long time. They were up 22 points in the third quarter. They were up, let me see if I can find my notes here, up 16 with under 5 minutes left, and still lost the basketball game to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So what we're going to be talking about in today's video is that game specifically, what went wrong there, but also what's going wrong here for Chicago on the entire season, as they've now lost 4 games in a row. What that means for their entire year, what that means for their roster, as well as some bright spots. It's not going to be all negative stuff. But quickly, before the video gets started, if you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every day. It's a great place for consistent NBA content. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well. And my socials are down at the bottom of the screen. There's a link tree down in the description below. With those things said, we're going to talk about the Bulls. So first thing, I don't do this like basically ever. I don't show NBA footage on this channel because I don't want to deal with copyright stuff. So it's basically just me, talking in front of the camera with some stuff on screen. But today I'm going to make an exception because of how bad the Bulls defense is, okay? I'm going to go and pull up some footage. So this is what the Bulls defense looks like so far this season. As you can see, it's non-existent. I'm not kidding. Like, there are times where this backcourt of Zach LaVine and Coby White might as well not exist. They're trying to guard their man and they're just like, hey, you want to go to the rim? It's right there. It's all yours. Hope I don't get copyrighted. Now, seriously, there are some significant issues here with the Bulls defensively, and I think the conversation has to begin with this backcourt of Zach LaVine and Coby White, because last night's game is a perfect example. When things are going right, when they're knocking down shots, when they're rolling offensively, the bad defense stuff doesn't really matter. They were up a ton against the Thunder. The Thunder were struggling to score, and the shot making, there was just such a huge difference between the two teams. But then as the game progressed, as the Bulls started to get a little bit sloppy, they were turning the ball over a ton. They've been awful with that so far this year. The Thunder started to make some shots. They came back in the game, and they ended up winning the game in overtime. In a game in which, as I said, the Bulls were up 22. They lost. They were up 16 with under 5 to go. They lost. They shot 45% from three-point range, 10 percentage points better than the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team with significantly less talent than them, and they still lost. And the question that brings up to me is the long-term future and viability of the backcourt of Coby White and Zach LaVine, specifically defensively. Now, I don't want to say any more negative things about Zach LaVine, okay? I have made my case about LaVine in the past, and I will go ahead and give him some credit right here so that nobody can claim that I don't. He has been awesome, honestly, for the entire season, but in the last 4 games specifically, he has done something that no Bull since some guy named Michael Jordan has done in 4 consecutive games, and that is score 30 points in every single game and shoot over 50% from the field in every single game. Zach LaVine has been incredible. My question is not about Coby White individually. It's not about Zach LaVine individually. I think White has had some struggles at times this year being efficient while having, a bigger role this season, but he's only in his second year. He's still very, very young. I think he'll figure it out and be a very good NBA guard. The problem is those two guys playing together, and again, specifically defensively, because if you have 2 guards like this that simply cannot stay in front of anybody and cannot keep anyone out of the lane, and you don't have a significant shot blocker at the rim, you're going to struggle to guard pretty much every single team in the league, and that is one of the main issues for Chicago. So that leads me to a question that I honestly didn't plan on getting to at this point, but I feel like we're kind of on a roll, so we're going to go and get to it. Are we potentially entering a scenario in which either Zach LaVine no longer wants to be a Chicago Bull because they can't win basketball games despite him doing his absolute best from a statistical and an offensive standpoint to do everything he can to get this team to win games? Are we at the point where he potentially no longer wants to be in Chicago, or are the Bulls at the point where they're going to be interested in moving on from either White or LaVine, more likely LaVine given his contract situation, in order to create a backcourt that is more viable from a defensive standpoint? Are we at that point yet? I'm not sure we're quite there yet, but if the Bulls continue to lose, I think they're going to have to really evaluate that situation, because Zach LaVine is going to be a free agent in 2022. He's on a very manageable contract until that point, but he will be an unrestricted free agent. Last time he entered free agency, he was restricted. The Kings offered him an offer sheet. He accepted. The Bulls matched, and that's how we got to where we are. But if he enters unrestricted free agency as like a 27, 28-year-old coming off of a couple of really productive offensive seasons, he's going to get a huge offer in 2022. And if Chicago does not want to entertain that kind of huge offer, or they don't want to risk the fact that he could possibly leave in 2022, then they need to really evaluate the options on this roster right now. Now, you might think that this is a huge overreaction to one specific game in which they just completely collapsed last night against the Thunder. But it's really not, because this has been a theme for this team at certain points. As I said, they've lost 4 games in a row despite how good LaVine is, and as you look at the roster as a whole, yes, there are some bright spots. White, I think, is still going to be a really good player. Efficiency will continue to get better. Lauri Markkanen has kind of broken out of a slump that he was in last year. Granted, he's only played in a handful of games. Wendell Carter Jr. looks decent. Patrick Williams has looked good. Still obviously very raw, but very, very good, and from what I was hoping for out of Patrick Williams this year. And every important young player on the roster outside of LaVine is 23 or younger, and LaVine himself is only like 25 or 26. So there are certainly bright spots, but do they have a roster that fits and makes sense together? Because their 5 best players don't really fit all that well together on the court, and they also can't really guard with those 5 guys on the court at the same time. So what that means for me is either, again, you evaluate the backcourt situation, a backcourt that, in my opinion, just simply does not work, and if you're trying to be a playoff team in the Eastern Conference, or do you consolidate the younger players and the younger assets that you have in an effort to get a player that significantly raises your ceiling and brings you up to a new level, rather than counting on the collective efforts of multiple players? And obviously the first name that comes to mind here would be someone like Bradley Beal, whatever the case may be, whoever ends up becoming available, because I don't know if that name is entirely obvious at the moment, because I don't know how Beal helps their biggest issue, which at the moment is defensively, because offensively, their offense is miles better than it was last year with Jim Boylen, now in their first year with Billy Donovan. So how do they raise their defensive ceiling, and is getting another 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th pick really going to help them in a significant way on that end of the floor? It's unlikely. So here are their options. They can decide right now that they need to move on from Coby White and Zach LaVine, figure out a different backcourt, right? Get a guy alongside Zach LaVine that can defend, can take the other team's best guard. Zach LaVine can be hidden, and they can be significantly better defensively. I don't really know who that player would be, but maybe they take a look at that option. They continue to play out the season. They go and get another guy that's going to be like the 10th pick in the draft, and they hope that that helps them. Or they hope that, the players that they have on the roster continue to grow and develop defensively, and that helps them become a better defensive team. Or they just stand pat and they just hope for the best, or they go out and get another significant player for this roster. So it's murky, it's weird, and it's just such an odd roster, because there is a ton of talent here, but it's about, do the talented pieces fit together, and do they have enough time to figure it out, and will LaVine want to leave before they have the opportunity to figure it out? Plenty of question marks here in Chicago, and something that I definitely would want to take a look at if I was a Bulls fan, and trying to figure out where all this is going to go from here. Now, to be fair, NBA teams go through slumps all the time. So they were at 4-4, they lost 4 games in a row. Now they're at 4-8, one of the worst records, in the Eastern Conference. But, if you back up, they're 4-4, they're fine, contending for a playoff spot. And I'm sure Bulls fans would take a playoff appearance at this point. If this team could just make the playoffs, I'm sure plenty of fans would be completely fine with that. And they would take that and they would call that a success for the season. And I don't necessarily think that they would be wrong for that line of thinking, but they have got to figure out something here, in my opinion. Just defensively, the Coby White, Zach LaVine thing does not work. It was perfectly evidenced last night by the fact that they were so good in the first half. They shot the ball extremely well. They shot the ball extremely well for the entire game, but defensively, they just could not keep anyone out of the lane. They don't have a strong enough rim protector to really do anything at the rim. And as a result, they're going to continue to struggle until they figure out this roster as a whole. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think the Bulls should do with this roster. Should they stand pat? Should they go try and find a big name player? Should they, I don't know. What do you guys think the plan should be for Chicago moving forward? It's a very, very interesting situation to take a look at here, potentially, for the Bulls moving forward. With all those things said, I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys are having a great day. Quickly, I want to remind you that I am planning, as of the recording of this video, I am planning on doing a live stream tonight if James Harden plays his first game for the Brooklyn Nets. If that is the case, I will be live around 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight on this YouTube channel, just kind of hanging out with you guys, watching the game a little bit, and kind of seeing what Harden looks like in his first game as a Net. If you're interested in that, as I said, 6 p.m. Eastern time, I'll be live on this YouTube channel, and I hope to see you there. With all those things said, all the stuff I said in the beginning, subscribe if you're new, like the video as well, helps me out a ton, and you can check out my socials at the bottom of the screen as well. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Hope everybody is staying safe out there, and I will see you guys in the second video of the day, in which, unfortunately for Bulls fans, we're going to be talking about the team that beat you last night, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. With all those things said, I'll see you all next time. Peace, fellas.